Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, this is gonna be about how to add Tony Redgrave into the the later Resident Evil games. Basically, I'm not gonna go for Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8 because those already have their stories been planned out. Resident Evil 9, even though it's new, I'm gonna talk about it. The spin-out games, the only ones I would have talked about are the Resident Evil Revelations games. For Resident Evil Degeneration, you could just have him meet up with Leon. They, of course, chat up about something, about working together at Umbrella at one point, since Leon wasn't sure about his government business, he might consider working with Umbrella, which would have later on turned out to be a plot in the next, you know, movie game adaptations. Which I know that Resident Evil Generation had already its game. But I'm just saying that just in case that they're gonna remake the game or whatever. But anyways, also here's the thing. I'm not gonna go into the Resident Evil Tony Redgrave game again because I already have my explanations. If you want to see them, go watch Silver Ghost his videos on that. I already explain and comment on his channel what Tony Redgrave should return in Resident Evil franchise. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin with the spin-offs. Resident Evil Revelations. One, you could have Tony Redgrave, talking to Chris Redfield, the rest of the BSA members, and of course, you could have him, go in, help them fight off bioweapons, and of course, here's the thing, he would have definitely helped out, and also for honorable mention, his Umbrella faction, as well as him being CEO of Umbrella, will be part of this story as well. Basically, here's the thing, with Morgan, aka the villain. Tony Redgrave will basically kill him off because he read the Dante book, and this would be kind of like a reference to Dante, how his alias was you for Tony Redgrave was used in Devil May Cry, but whatever. I'm not gonna get into. Anyway, so imagine him helping out Chris Redfield take out bioweapons, of course, chat up with, the rest of the BSA members, the FPC members, and whatever. Then afterwards, later on, there would have been a I, in a Resident Evil Revelations remake, I definitely think that they should add, a level of that represents the Resident Evil 3.5 version, the Resident Evil 3.5 game, the one that was originally going to be Resident Evil 4, but anyways, so imagine that Leon goes in, talks with Oswald Spencer, realizing that he was his father. He would have gone up and made up with Tony Redgrave. For the censor stuff, I already say, so I'm just going to make this real. He and Tony Redgrave will meet up, as well as Paul Redgrave. Also, Tony and Paul, they will help each other throughout the whole game, so keep that in mind. So he and Leon, they would have talked, have some banter with each other, and of course they would have gone and defeat a lot of bioweapons, and of course go after Host Capture Force, blow up their base, and of course have Resident Evil Revelations 1 out of that. For Resident Evil Revelations 2, imagine Tony Redgrave be the one that saves, Poppy Burton, you know, since Tony Redgrave is honestly a medic, he would have definitely know how to save lives. So, anyways, and imagine, he and more, and imagine him saving the lives from the people at the party or in the invitation, whatever that's called. Then afterwards, he and Claire, talk to each other. Then afterwards, he talks to Moira Burton, and of course, he would have definitely comforted her, just like how Leon comforted Ashley in the Resident Evil 4 remake. Then afterwards, in Resident Evil Revelations 2, you know, he and Barry Burton would have definitely talked, have some banter. And by the way, also remember these Resident Evil stories, everyone would have been in them. So yeah, keep that in mind as well. Anyways, so imagine he and Barry have some banter, talk about how much they were friends, and Tony Redgrave would have been, very supportive of Barry Burton and of course his family. But afterwards, imagine, they all go in and of course fight Alex Wesker, aka Albert Wesker's sister at the end, and then afterwards, they will have some banter. They would have remind each other of the good guys that of the heroes that they used to be, and of course, all that kind of stuff. Just basically, having conversations, talk to each other, reason with each other. Anyway, so for Resident Evil 5, have him meet up with Chris Redfield once again, with the other BSA members. In other words, imagine with Tony Redgrave, he goes out there, saves a lot of people. Then afterwards, imagine once they. And now for Spencer, basically, for Spencer, real quick, basically, instead of him being, a generic bad guy, he would have definitely helped out Chris Redfield. Then afterwards, Oswald Cesar might sacrifice himself to stop the Ouroboros virus. And of course, Tony Redgrave would have seen that and he would have been upset with that. Now, imagine, you know, he, Chris, and of course, everyone else from the Resident Evil franchise came in and they saw Wesker. Not all that, but when they saw Wesker, even Tony, they don't hold back on, of course, attacking him. Then afterwards, Wesker would have died, with some nuclear bombs that would have been sent by a plane. Then afterwards, he, as well as with the other Resident Evil members, they would have talked each other out. Then Resident Evil 6, basically he would have helped out, of course, save people. He would have talked to Cherry Birkin. Um, I mean, Cherry Birkin, this wouldn't be called Cherry Birkin. She would be called Cherry Redgrave, but that would have been a video for another time. All I'm gonna say is that Tony Redgrave raises her as his own daughter instead of Simmons. So imagine he and Cherry, talk to each other, and of course Tony Redgrave would have said something about, you know, to Jake Moore of how he killed his father and that he didn't want to do it, but he had to do it because he was forced to. Anyways, but afterwards, they would have talked to each other out. Tony Redgrave would have grabbed Carla, put her in the umbrella fan, and of course, at the end, you know, he would have researched her on how the cloning works. And of course, afterwards, he would have stopped people from fighting and each other. And of course, afterwards, they will all go in, fight off, Simmons, attack him, and basically afterwards, once again, they will not hold back on Simmons, just like with Wesker. Then afterwards, at the end, they will talk about each other, working at Umbrella, and of course, at a funeral. But for Resident Evil 9, let's just say, you know, he helps out Ash. Grace Ashcroft, and afterwards he and Leon will meet again. And afterwards for Resident Evil Requiem, there are two endings. If anyone dies in that, he will go back in time to, of course, save them. Or for another ending, he will go in and, of course, you know, if no one is gonna die in that game, then he, of course, he will have helped out to rebuild Raccoon City. This time there are no more bioweapons, everyone is safe, and of course, Tony Redgrave, Paul Redgrave will have worked together to help out the whole entire world. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all my ideas on how to put Tony Redgrave back into Resident Evil. Sorry if I cannot explain a whole lot, but anyways. By the way, Capcom, I hope you use my ideas on how to bring back Tony Redgrave. Alright? That's all I'm gonna say to you. Anyways, bye.